Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. After the gap of Eid holidays, I am in front of you to share the important tips and techniques as to how you can prepare after appearing in your mock examination. As you know that you would have around 1 month's time before you sit for your Cambridge examination. This 1 month, that is 30 days, is the most crucial time of your life, which is going to play a pivotal role in the achievement of excellent results, the benefits of which you will reap throughout your life. Therefore, my dear students, please stop wasting your time and start organizing yourself. This is the time to follow tips and techniques. This is the time to enhance your previously learned knowledge. This is the time to overcome your mistakes, and this is the time to learn collaboratively. So, I will be there with you to guide you throughout this 1 month's time for the preparation of your English exam, whether you go for 1123 or 0500 IGCSE first English language as a first language. So, my dear students, let's start with the tips as to how you can utilize your time effectively after mock examination. So, this is the first tip that I will be sharing with you. The first thing is that you should develop the habit of making past papers, attempting past papers around one paper on daily basis, because many experts teacher have made this proverb that one past paper a day keeps the bad grade away, just as an apple a day keeps the doctor away. So, develop the habit, practice at least one past paper, whether you go for P1 or for P2 on daily basis, especially for P1, especially for summary writing and comprehension. You must not be giving yourself any break, because there might be some students who would already have appeared in some of their compulsory subjects in IG2, or you can say O level 2. Now they would be having 5 to 6 subjects, or maximum you can say 7 subjects. So their focus should be to revise each and every subject on daily basis. So at least spare 1.5 hours a time to revise English language, because you know it's a language, it's a skill, and if you will keep revising it, you are definitely going to improvise it further. Otherwise, god forbids, there are dangers that you might forget certain things and you might start making more mistakes. So practice makes a student an A star holder. So do not stop the practice. Keep practicing, as I have told you, one past paper per day. The important step is that you should do the corrections of those mistakes which you have done in your mock examination. Majority of the schools do return your papers after they have been checked by the teachers. Don't just throw them in the cupboard or in your drawer. Take them out, read each and every word or note which the teacher would have written on your paper. If there is certain you can say note which you are unable to understand, go to your teacher, ask from him or her as to what is the mistake or area of improvement which he has suggested, and do write its corrections. If it is a comprehension passage, the marking schemes are available everywhere. You can download that and you should attempt the complete paper again and see, highlight which of those questions you are constantly making errors at. So start focusing on those specific questions. This is the time to improvise. This is the time to reconsider and analyze your areas of improvement. So read your, also another tip is that you should read your previously attempted assignments. You see, there are some students obviously who are striving for A star. They would have been attempting class assignments previously. So take them out. I hope you would have you would have made some record of those assignments in the form of a file, or sometimes the pictures you take via cam scanner. Please take them out, make your, you can say, data organized, and start reading them. You will see that you will analyze yourself, that how did you write in O1, How did you improve your writing skills by the time you read O2? And now, at the start of O3 or IG3, what were your weaknesses and improvement areas? And now, in your mock papers, how much you have improved? So, I'm sure you will be able to make an improvement chart of your own progress, and you can learn from your mistakes through this process. Read the assignments of other high achievers. It has been my habit, and I have also shared the assignments of high achievers of my class in my booklet, which I have compiled, about which I have made a video. Several of the teachers, as well as students from all over Pakistan, have purchased that booklet and they are taking benefit of that. I don't say that it is 100 out of 100 or 10 by 10 marks book, but obviously the area or the room to improve is always there. But as far as the assignments of those high achievers are concerned, they are all authentic because all those students got A star or A in their 2024 May June examination of Cambridge. The next tip is that please revise vocabulary on daily basis. One of the major problem which majority of my students share with me is that they memorize vocabulary, but by the time they are in the exam mode, they forget vocabulary. The reason is that they have memorized the vocabulary just one night before the exam. When you memorize something under pressure, during a short break, during a short time, obviously it does not last long. So, if you want your vocabulary to be long lasting, you should start revising it from today. At least you should revise it 30 times before you go for your exam. And you should also try to find out the contextual meaning of that vocabulary. Because when you understand the context of that word, you will never forget its meaning. The next important tip is that get rid of boring words. It's not necessary that you just learn or memorize high five vocabulary. The important tip is that you should replace boring words of your vocabulary. And the more focus should be on sentence structure rather than just flowery vocabulary. And I will be talking about that in a few minutes. Avoid the word very from your list of words. Instead of saying I am very happy today, you should be saying I am ecstatic. Instead of saying very happy, you can say I am joyous. Instead of saying I am very sad, you can say I feel dull and despondent. Now you see these words and these lists I have compiled while I was teaching my students in the class. I wrote everything on the board. I took a screenshot. I will be sharing that with you at the end of the video. You can also memorize those words and those lists, and you can also take a screenshot of my slide. And those lists are also available in my book. So those students who already have my book, they should go and revise those pages from there. Focus on connectors instead of saying you can say and but or so, such boring connectors again and again. You should be focusing on the basic connectors and their types, which I have mentioned in my video of summary writing also. And the basic types of connectors are that they are supporting connectors. Supporting connectors means those connectors which enhance your point of view. And then there are contrasting connectors. Contrasting connector mean when you give the other side of the picture, then you give contrasting connectors, like you say, on the other hand, however, while. These are the contrasting words. And then similarity connectors or conclusion connectors. You should know that when you are winding up things, what you should be saying. For example, you can say summing up, or you can say in a nutshell, or you can say briefly, to tell you the truth, something like that. So the focus is on synonyms and connectors and synonyms of emotive vocabulary. What is emotive vocabulary? In the narrative essay, as you know, that you give your feelings, you give describe the feelings of your characters. You cannot say every time that the character was very sad or he was very angry. You have to replace those bland words with their important key synonyms. And those synonyms can be alliterated synonyms also. What are the alliterated synonyms? The synonyms which start with the same letter, just as I have given you the example of dull and dismal. The other tip is that you should learn those synonyms which are provided by the Cambridge examiner in the marking schemes. This tip is specifically with regard to P1 reading paper because several times you think that your answer is correct, but the examiner has given that answer in zero category. For example, the word was magnanimous and the meaning that you wrote was big. The examiner says that it is wrong because the real answer is very big. So it means that you did not understand the demand of that word. The demand was that it was something very big in size. So if you will just say big, obviously the examiner will not give you mark for that word. Therefore, you should revise the synonyms and the vocabulary list which have been provided in the marking schemes so that you know all these tips and techniques and you do not make silly mistakes in your Cambridge exam. The focus area. You should know what is your focus area. What does focus area mean? Because every student is not bad in every category of mistake. Every student is not weak in every mistake. There are some students whose one ability is strong, whereas other abilities need to be sharpened. So you should know that what is your focus area? What is the area of improvement in your writing or in your reading? How you should know your focus area? You should take out your papers, as I have just told you, the checked papers, and see which questions went wrong. Whether it was the first part of the paper in the comprehension, which is called question 1, or whether it was question 2. First, sort that out. Then, you should know that you lost marks in the summary because of boring words like and, or also. What was the weak area? When you would know your focus area, you should attack that area and work or make more efforts to improve that area. That will help you improve your grade instead of blindly doing the whole paper or blindly revising the simple questions. Rather, you should attack the focus area and focus more on those questions which are mostly wrong in your papers. So therefore, practice those questions on daily basis. There might be some students whose spellings are very weak. My dear student, this is the time, this is high time that you get rid of spelling mistakes. And the formula which I always share with my students and which I am sharing with you also right now is that you should write 20 words daily basis, on daily basis, and each word should be written thrice. This would result in 60 words, 20 into 3. On daily basis, you should write these and get them checked either by your mother or your elder sibling or by yourself and see whether you wrote the correct spelling of receive, whether you wrote the correct spelling of there and there, whether you wrote the correct spelling with single L or double L. Keep revising. This would help you improve your spellings. And there are some students whose tenses are inconsistent. What does inconsistent tenses mean? That they are constantly shifting between past and present. Past, present. So they should stop dwindling and they should stop shifting between past and present, and they should drill this fact into their brains that shifting is going to be disastrous. It is going to be a fatal mistake. It's going to be a serious error. Therefore, must get rid of it. How can you improve that? Take any English book or any essay or any story which has been written in some newspaper or some book that has been prescribed to you by the examiner and see that in one paragraph the writer always writes in one tense, and when he changes the tense he changes either from direct to indirect or he starts it from the new paragraph. In one paragraph, never ever a good writer will use two tenses. Therefore, make this rule that you will also stick to one tense in one paragraph and you would avoid the mistake of shifting. Students with weak or poor punctuation, what are the tips to improve them? First of all, you should know that which kind of student you are. Either you are a student with weak spellings, either you are a student with weak comprehension, either you are a student who lost marks in summary writing, or you lost marks because your punctuation was not accurate. So you are advised to read aloud your own attempts and see where you should take pauses. When you know where to take pause, definitely you will place comma and full stop at the right place. And remember the difference between independent clause and dependent clause. What is independent clause? I have given you the example of independent clause in green color where he went to the stadium. H he will be capital and then there will be semicolon, and it means that it is a complete information. It has a subject, it has a verb. So therefore, it is an independent clause. And when we say going to the stadium, this is not independent clause because who is going to the stadium? The subject is missing. Therefore, we will place comma at its end. If you know only this basic rule, 50% of your punctuation will be correct. This is my guarantee. Try to follow it, and inshallah, it will come up with fruitful results. Then, if there is a question in your reading paper which is called the example question, in that question, you are supposed to pick out one example from the paragraph which has been prescribed by the examiner. And in that paragraph, in that example, you should be able to identify some figure of speech. Now, what is figure of speech? I have given you some basic examples of figures of speech. These are basically literary devices. Just as you use some techniques to enhance your language in different languages, like in Urdu, you use idioms or muhavarat. In the same way, in English also, the writers use different techniques in order to enhance their vocabulary, in order to enhance their message. So you should be able to know at least these four basic. And one more I would also add to this, five you can say, so that you do not make this mistake of picking the example and then identifying the figure of speech mentioned in that example. So what is that? Number one is simile. And in brief words, you can just remind yourself that simile means something which has words like as or like. It is a comparison in which we use words like as or like. Just as you say, he is as beautiful as a flower. Metaphor. Metaphor is a bold comparison. In metaphor, you do not have words like as or like. The writer boldly compares one thing with that of another. Then personification. Personification means when human qualities are exchanged to non-humans. So this is the definition which I have made myself in simple English to the convenience of my students, that personification means exchange of attributes between humans and non-humans. For example, the example of personification can be, you say the earth smiled, or the sun smiled, the sun laughed at us, something like that. Now sun is not a human being that he would be laughing at. The next figure of speech is alliteration. Alliteration means the repetition of certain letters, just as we say Dunkin' Donuts, or just as we say dull and dismal, just as we say chaotic and cacophonous. So all these words I have given you examples of, they are starting with similar letter. They also enhance vocabulary. So if you know these basic terms and figures of speech, then your example question will never be wrong. And the last out of these types figures of speech which I can mention before you is hyperbole. Hyperbole means exaggeration. When you say he is on his deathbed, when he was just ill, some people give you the exaggerated version of things and they say he is on his deathbed or he is dying to have a new mobile phone. So these are the basic figures of speech that you should be well versed of. If you have done this question wrong in your paper, learn these figures of speech and then re-attempt those questions. Check your answers from the marking scheme. On daily basis, attempt at least two example questions from two papers. Then you will become well versed in this type of question. Then the next question is the effect question, which mostly the students get wrong. And what do you need to remember in order to correct it? That what is the meaning of effect? Effect means a hidden meaning or subtle meaning or the below the surface meaning or inferential meaning Only practice will make this question perfect. So highlight the effect question if that question is wrong in your answer in your paper, and check the answer from the marking scheme. Learn the meaning of the word effect and practice it on daily basis. So, my dear students, these were some of the very basic tips which I have tried to share with you, and I'm just going to give you a brief recap of that. That number one, you should give a correction time to your papers, especially of mock exam, and then you should see your focus area. That what is the area of improvement, because all the students are not weak in all the things. So when you have identified your focus area, you will improve more quickly. And the third tip is that keep revising past papers because practice will make you high achiever. And don't forget to revise the assignments of high achievers. You can check them from my book. You can borrow them from some of the students who are already good in the class. You can take the guidance of your teachers in this regard, but stay in touch with the subject of English. Otherwise, this is the most difficult subject to achieve A star. Therefore, my dear students, before I leave, I have taken this, you can say the picture via CAM scanner, where I have given replacement of synonyms of those words which are most commonly used by the students in their example questions or in their composition writing questions, and they repeat it most often in their writing. You see that I wrote it on the board, even the date has been mentioned. For example, if the word is very tall, you can say towering, tall, or giant, one word in order to replace very. If the word is very short, you can say dwarf like or short heighted. I'm going to read all that so that you can understand the writing size and what has been written. If the word is sad, you can say depressed or doleful. If the word is happy, you can memorize excited and exuberant. If the word is angry, you can memorize furious and frustrated. If the word is surprised, you can say startled and stunned. If the word is frightened, you can say scared and afraid. If the word is and, you can say additionally or furthermore. If the word is also, you can say moreover or adding upon. If the word is but, you can say contrarily, although, or however. If the word is chaos, you can say mayhem or bedlam. If the word is said, you can say exclaimed or stated. If the word is funny, you can say hilarious or comical. If the word is serious, you can say gloomy, boring, or unattractive. If the word is poor, you can say poverty stricken or needy or downtrodden. If the word is rich, you can say wealthy or prosperous. If the word is beautiful, you can say attractive or mesmerizing. If the word is very nice, you can say perfect, amazing, spectacular, wonderful. If the word is very good, you can say outstanding, commendable. If the word is very bad, you can say awful or pathetic. If the word is very horrible, you can say scary or horrendous or terrifying. If the word is very clear, you can say lucid or vivid or vibrant. If the word is very quarrelsome, you can simply say aggressive or argumentative. If the word is very ugly, you can say disgusting or grotesque or unattractive. If the word is evil, you can say wicked or villainous. If the word is clever, you can say cunning or foxy. If the word is caring, you can say considerate, kind, and empathetic. So please take a screenshot of these words. The first half is regarding emotive vocabulary, and the second half is how to replace very and the boring words like nice and poor and happy and sad. I'm sure this is going to be extremely beneficial for you. Heartiest thanks and Allah Hafiz.